first build the cathedral and then maintain it. This is what Pep Guardiola kind of said about Johan Cruyff. I've just spent some time studying Johan Cruyff and his legacy. And the more I look at it, the more impressed I am. It's not just Johan Cruyff's legacy, but the legacy that keeps building on it. We have Pep Guardiola, we have Arteta, we have Cruyff's son, who did work in Israel, and lo and behold, the Israeli youth teams are reaching semifinals in Euro Cup and World Cup and things like that. There is something to be said, Ten Hag, who is now at Manchester United. So there's a legacy here that is just amazing. I mean, if you think about how difficult it is, how competitive world football is, how many people are trying in different countries to penetrate the space, and then you have this relatively simple legacy, in my point of view, starting with Johan Cruyff, and it goes even further. Rinus Michels before that, but let's use Cruyff as the focal point. And this is a little bit related, but somehow very unrelated also. Then I just read something about La Sagrada Familia, or Familia Sagrada, excuse me, the cathedral that Gaudi built in Barcelona. And I see parallels here. I see parallels in terms of taking courage, doing something unusual, starting from scratch, building something that is amazing, hitting a nerve that wins, hitting a nerve that excites people, that does something that is better than most other things. I think I want to talk about this here. It's a little bit of it's a little bit off the track of the Not Even Wrong podcast. The purpose of Not Even Wrong podcast is to give people a sense of what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So certainly we are now going into territory of world football and architecture, but I've said it many times that reading is not just a pastime of hedge fund managers, but it's part of the business. And being sort of delving into such subjects as architecture or football is interesting as one, but more importantly also, I would say it helps understand what winning means and how you win. And I want to use Cruyff's quote here, that it always starts with the game. It always starts with skills. Building skills creates confidence. Confidence helps build the game. Helps build a game that can excite people and be successful and eventually win. I think that, in a nutshell, is what not just playing football is about, but doing anything in life. And I think that's what I'm trying to sort of arch here. I know, again, it's a little bit of a stretch. For new listeners, please bear with me. I usually end up delivering something that is useful for the hedge fund business. And this is one of those attempts where maybe I'm reaching a little bit far. It's not a straightforward, one-to-one execution of the plan. But again, sometimes we have to take uncharted. We have to go through uncharted waters. We have to take roads that we've never taken before, and we might actually end up in a much better place. This is Not Even Wrong podcast. It's July 10th, 2023. This is Krim Delco. For the year, we are up 134.1%. The market is up 14.6%. We're outperforming by 119.5%. So let me start with La Sagrada Familia by Gaudi. So this is one of the most important, if not probably most important, architectural constructs, at least in the Western world, in terms of popularity, in terms of recognition, in terms of just brand power. Barcelona, a whole city, is almost defined by this building. And I want to draw the line between that building and what Barcelona has been doing in world football. Now, I'm not saying there's a direct correlation, but there are a lot of parallels that led that led the city and the people in that city to develop something this unique. So what are the parallels? Well, Barcelona has been struggling for centuries to reach a level of autonomy and a level of self-worth that is independent of the Spanish Empire, independent of other Western powers, independent of the church, of Christianity. Whatever time frame you look at, there has always been some sort of overarching authority that has been threatening the national identity of Catalonia. And Barcelona has that rare combination of being a city that has been under the spell of other powers, but has enough wealth, both monetary and any other kind of way, intellectual wealth, to actually try to become something on its own. So, and the way they try to express that is by really going to the extreme, but not to an extreme in sort of a, rebellious way, by taking to arms, more an extreme by setting an example, putting out something so unique that the world has no choice but to listen. They did that with La Sagrada Familia, and they did that with world football. They did that with other things too, but those are the two most famous examples. And in both cases, they tried a new approach. In the case of Gaudi, of course, it was one person, an architect, but then, of course, there's a lot of people behind it, people that support it, people that work with it, people that make it happen. In the end, also the locals, and then the people that sort of are attracted by this, even outside of the local hemisphere, who are supporting this by just being fans. The same happened in world football. I mean, we had the architect Johan Cruyff, who comes to Barcelona and builds a system of world football that is built on or founded on skills, on fundamental skills that lead towards winning through confidence. Now, of course, La Sagrada Familia is slightly different in that sense, but there's so many parallels. Again, I think the most important one is the courage to do something, the courage to do something that is not defined by authority, that is not, a me too, well, we'll just do what everybody else has been doing. We try to make it better, or slightly this, slightly that. None of that stuff. It is simply going your own way, believing in your own thing, but not just doing it for the sake of going in your own way, having a system, having a plan. I think those are the kinds of things that, if we look at from our perspective as wealth creators in the hedge fund business, that's what we're looking for when we deploy our capital. That's how we have been investing most recently with Tesla and Nvidia, our two positions, not just our largest positions, but our only two positions. And there's a lot of reasons why those are only two positions that I think is not the scope of this particular episode. I just want to stick with the concept of, look, you want to look for something that is unique, but has this nice blend of attraction towards an unusual but pragmatic and creative way of doing something. I think those are the how should I say, those are the ingredients that you want to look for. I think that's probably the best way to say it. Now, again, we start with Familia Sagrada, world football, Johan Cruyff, Gaudi. I think Gaudi and Cruyff both have two things in common. They've built a cathedral that is very unusual and that epitomizes a city. And the city, and that's the other thing that they have in common, is Barcelona. Now, why did this happen in Barcelona? I don't think it's a coincidence. I think, again, the city has a very unique mix of culture, a mix of wealth, a mix of incentives, a mix of values, and all kinds of other things. And that's why it happened in Barcelona. And, it could have been, instead of world football, it could have been I don't know, volleyball or something, but it happens to be world football, and it happens to be Sagrada Familia. Could have been other things, and it's very interesting because you could ask yourself, well, I mean, why are we so excited about La Sagrada Familia? You know, we have beautiful buildings in Paris, in London, in Germany, even despite World War II. But I think, you know, the Dome of Cologne and so on and so forth. But you see, what's so unique about Barcelona is those are not buildings that were built by the church or by some powerful authoritative institution. Those were buildings, cathedrals. And when I say again, La Sagrada Familia and the world football and the football of Johan Cruyff, both are cathedrals that are built from a niche perspective. They are built from a perspective of, yeah, I would say, yeah, renegade is maybe too much of a word, but something along those lines. And they've still achieved enormous global importance. That's what's so unique. And the way they did it is by building on skill and confidence. That's what Gaudi transpires to me, and that's what Johan Cruyff transpires to me. It starts with the skill. And I've said this even in conversation about football. Let's say when I talk about, even at the local level, small clubs, doesn't matter. It's not very complicated to build winning teams. You start with the skill. Even in business, same thing. You want to build a business, a successful technology business. You start with the skill. What is your skill? It starts with the product. It starts with what is it you actually need to do? What are the required skills to deliver the product? Start with the product. Cruyff said, it starts with the game. The product is the game. Gaudi's product was, La Sagrada Familia was supposed to be for the family, encourage people having kids, encourage Catalonians to stick together under the roof of a cathedral, but under their roof of a cathedral, under their version of a cathedral, under their premises of proliferating and all that stuff. What's important, again, it's really like you look for the thing that is necessary to deliver the product. You start with first principles and then you build from there. And I think once you start down that path and you follow the other things that innovation requires, such as iteration, you adapt a Popperian worldview, you build an innovation stack, and all of these things, wealth is going to be created. Good things will happen. Thank you.